This is Ryan Hickey, and you're listening to the Mike Delivers podcast with Mike Biseglia. It's been a blast getting to know Biseg the last few years at CBS Sports Radio, and let me tell you, I thought nothing could surpass his love for the Brooklyn Nets and for his cat Leon. But Uber Eats has taken the throne. It's been a blast listening to his passion and his energy when talking about food and talking about the crazy deliveries he's been on. Now, to be honest, I really don't order food out that much, but when I do, I only order it if Mike delivers.
Welcome inside. Mike delivers from his wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4. Here's your host, Mike Biseglia.
That's right. This is Mike Delivers, episode number 107. And I'm your host, Mike Biseglia. And I'm coming to you from my wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4. Today I'm outside of the Wendy's in Clifton, New Jersey. I've done 1,301 deliveries, and I have not taken or stolen food from anybody. I also have a 99% satisfaction rating as an Uber Eats driver, which means since the last time I recorded this podcast, I've gone up 1%. I'm at 99 frickin' percent. You can find this podcast where all major pods are found, like iHeart, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Google, and of course Apple Podcasts. And if you're an Apple Podcast listener, go ahead and give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. It's greatly appreciated. Got a fun interview on this episode. Randy and Jason Sklar, the Sklar Brothers, incredible comedians. You can find their podcast as well, Sklar Bro Country Virus Edition, which is awesome. I highly recommend that for anybody that likes listening to just funny, entertaining podcasts. They'll come on my on this episode, and I have a funny kind of like backstory with them, which I'll explain a little bit in the actual interview. But it involves Jim Rome, the Jim Rome Show, and little old Mike Biseglia early on in New York City running the audio board, and that's how I got hooked up with Randy and Jason Sklar. So I'm excited for everybody to hear that. Stories from the road as well. I'll be sharing them with my wife in this episode. Last week it was Evan Roberts. This week my wife will join me. As I've explained a little bit in the previous episode, I want to start doing these stories from the roads with friends and families and just get their perspective to bounce off all the crazy shit that happens to me. I think it's funny, and it's just a unique, different way to get that story out there because, I'll tell the story and there might be some good follow-ups. So I think this is a good way to do that. We'll get to that in just a little bit. I do want to talk about this pre-tip thing because now that I've done a bunch of, stories, now that I've done a bunch of deliveries, I have an honest opinion on it. It's awesome, and I love it. So here's a little backstory if you're new to what I'm trying to say. When you do an Uber Eats delivery now, when you get a ping that comes to your phone, it'll say what the order is. It tells you how much the delivery order is with the tip already included. So if you see something like this is going to be a 19-minute trip, it's going to pay you $11 including the tip, and you're going to a restaurant in an area you want to go to, you take it. Or it says, for example, it's a 30-minute trip, it's only going to pay $4, this schmuck didn't tip, I don't want to drive out there knowing that that's the amount of money. You can decline it. And what the beauty of this is, beforehand the good order and the bad order. Beforehand, you did not know what the tip was, so you'd be making a guess call on if you should take the order or not. Now with more information, you can just decline orders until you see one that looks right for you. And the cool thing about living in this area in New Jersey is there are a lot of orders. So I could understand if you're in an area where you only got an order once every 20, 25 minutes, then you'd have to accept it. But when you decline, within 30 to 60 seconds later, there is another option, which could be the better order. So my whole final synopsis, my whole final theory on this is the pre-tip is good. Showing the amount of money is good because you can decline the bad orders and get right to the good orders. So I think that is a crucial part in the evolution of Uber Eats. So that's my final decision on that. I shouldn't say final. Shit could change. I could see something I don't like. But for now, I think it's a good thing. The more information you have, the better educated you can be about making a trip order. For example, this past week I did one where I made $96 in like 3.5 hours because I was declining the bad orders, got the good ones, could make more money. And so far, I got to be honest, it's been awesome. So I've loved it. All right, we have an interview with the Sklar Brothers in just a matter of moments. But first, here's stories from the road that I'll be sharing with my wife. Okay, so I got a pickup from the Bear Burger, and I love always picking up from Bear Burger because the food's always ready. So it just so happened this is the one time, of course, at the Bear Burger, the food wasn't ready. And I think the reason for it was the staff was a little bit confused because the only thing the person ordered were milkshakes, so they couldn't find the food. Even though I showed the woman like 3 times the order, then she finally put it together. I didn't even say anything because I was kind of like, all right, you should know you should get this, all right? You should get this. So that has nothing to do with the story. The interesting part of the story is because of that, I was lingering in the Bear Burger for a couple of minutes when normally I'd be on my way. So they were training somebody in the building, I guess to be an employee there, and her shirt was wide open, that her bra was sticking out, and you could see her boobs. Like, her boobs were just exposed, like, this would not be the look at somebody working at the restaurant. Like, I couldn't believe as I was waiting for these milkshakes that this woman's breasts were just exposed in the restaurant. Do you think the staff... And it was clearly like she was getting trained early to be here. Do you think I should have said something? Or do you think the staff should have been like, hey, we can see your boobs?
Which Bear Burger was
the one in Montclair?
Oh boy.
I was a little hesitant because I was like, they could be a sponsor one day, but I'm like, you know what? This is the truth. It's stories from the road.
No, it's definitely not on you. Okay, questions.
Yeah.
Was it a good look for her?
I mean, I think
maybe not in a corporate environment, but was it a good look?
I'd say yeah. Why not? I mean, yeah. I would say yeah. It wasn't a bad look.
Were there men or women training her?
Women.
Oh, they should have said something.
They should have said something.
Yeah,
right?
they should have said something.
It was just so
because
odd.
It's weird. I even find it weird when a guy will like comment like, "Oh, you have a button undone," or "Your fly's open." I don't know why. It is awkward. But if a woman does it, it's totally fine.
Right? Like, hey, you want to just
was it like a white button down or what was the shirt?
Yeah, it was like a white button down that was like kind of opening up, and it was just you could just see everything. I mean, it was just like one of them popped open and she didn't know.
Well, yeah, no, that's
somebody had to say something, or maybe she was like, this is the mold we're going for.
Are you sure she was training? Was this an interview?
It was somebody that was like, okay, next place you go is over here. This is how this works. This is where you check in. I can't confirm it perfectly, but it gave off the sense like this person was trying to teach the other woman how different procedures and protocols work in the Bear Burger.
Oh, that's awkward.
It is awkward, right?
I feel bad because like, she might get in her car and be like, holy shit.
So yeah, basically Bear Burger should be bare-chested burger. So I picked up from a McDonald's in the Livingston, New Jersey area and ended up taking it to a hotel. I ended up taking it to a hotel that me, you, your mom, and dad had stayed at. Different rooms, not all together. When we were looking at places to stay in New Jersey, we spent the night at this hotel. So it was kind of weird to pick up this McDonald's and deliver it into this hotel. So I go in, and first the woman at the desk says, have a good night. And I was like, no, I'm actually delivering food. So I'm delivering it to said room. Let's say it's 107. 107 was on the first floor, but it was a long walk. Like a long walk. Past the pool, make a left, down the hallway. And of course, whenever you do this, it's like the last room. So I drop it off to the woman. She opens up the door. She's in her pajamas. She's getting her McDonald's. I drop it off. She says, thank you. And then she goes, real quick, do you have a lighter I could use?
Should you be smoking in hotels?
I was like, sorry, I don't. She's like, oh, not a problem. Thank you. And I left. I was like, what? I mean, first of all, matches maybe, but she wanted my lighter. So if I were to give her my lighter, she would have to keep it, right? Because I couldn't just, I mean, she's not using it. I mean, or she's smoking up in the room. Like, was she going to smoke up whatever she was smoking, give me back the lighter and I'd be on my way? Or was it or if I had one, would she keep it?
Well, okay. So first of all, we stayed there when we were looking to buy a house when we lived in Long Island.
Yes.
Which is why we would stay 10 minutes from our current home.
Yes, thanks for giving context.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
That's why you're here.
And for whatever, I don't remember when it was, but it was some like, I don't know, we could not get a hotel. And this was a weird hotel.
Not bad. It was nice.
Not bad. It's just weird to stay in a non-name brand hotel. I'm not talking a bed and breakfast. I'm talking like a big ass hotel.
Big.
That there's one of. There
was a restaurant in there, a bar. It was nice.
Yeah, it was, but there was something off about it.
I would understand.
It was like a Hampton Inn with like one letter missing, you know?
Yeah, but gigantic.
Yes.
Okay, so to the lady.
Okay, to the lady. I would guess that she was gonna take. This is two people who've never smoked a cigarette having this conversation.
Correct.
I think you can light a cigarette off another one, so maybe she just needed, like, a light?
But was she going to keep the lighter?
No, I'm saying, like, if she lights one, then she could continue to light other ones if she wanted.
I think she wanted the lighter for good.
To have it?
I think she was so desperate for it, she was like, maybe my Uber Eats driver has a lighter on him.
That is bad.
Is that a weird thing to ask your Uber Eats driver?
It is a weird thing to ask your Uber Eats driver. Yeah. Also, should you be smoking in hotels?
Probably
Should you be
not.
smoking in COVID at all?
No, the point is she probably would have taken it and kept it outside. I wish I did have a lighter just to see what would have happened. Like, would she have lit up in the room? Would she have kept it forever? But I didn't have a lighter on me. There's nothing I could do.
If you had one on you, that would have been really off-brand.
Amazing.
Yeah, because we can never find the one lighter we have if we ever want to light anything.
And I'm intimidated by flames.
Yes, that is true. You're also afraid of fire.
Picked up from a Popeyes, and I was waiting for this Popeyes order. It took forever. And of course, there's a bag already there, but it's for a different order. And the woman came in, who was the other Uber Eats driver, to pick up the food. This took 2 minutes. They wrapped it up and gave it to her. Now, this story, I just thought it was fascinating because this woman was probably 60, 65 years old, and there was music playing in the Popeyes, and she just starts singing, "Bad, bad, bad, bad boys, you make me feel so good, make me feel so good." And it was just so funny, and I'm like looking at her, and I'm like, these are my people.
She was the Uber Eats driver?
She was the Uber Eats driver.
God,
and just singing, "Bad, bad." So sing it with me. Ready? 3,
Nope,
2,
I'm good.
1.
No singing.
Bad,
I'm good.
Bad, bad, bad boys, you make me feel so good.
Well, let her get her groove on.
Picked up an Uber Eats order, and this one is always weird to me because I picked up from a place in Belleville, New Jersey, and I got pasta in vodka sauce. So, which is not uncommon because this area, there is thousands of restaurants. Now, the place I picked it up from, it looked okay, but nothing fancy or special. And I took this said pasta with vodka sauce 23 minutes to Caldwell, New Jersey, which on the way from where I was going to Caldwell, there must be at least, no joke, 20 different Italian restaurants at the very least. And I know there's other places on Uber Eats. And I don't think this one spot has the best pasta with vodka sauce. Sorry, I'm just going to be honest. So it was a little strange. So with all that as a backdrop, I finally get to this house. And the woman has instructions on it, like, come to the back porch, I'll be waiting there, blah, blah, blah. She decides to come out from the back porch, makes it easier for me. I go, "Hey, how are you?" She goes, "It's for me." I was like, kind of figured that. So I hand her the food, and then she starts just opening up. And she's like, "This COVID really sucks." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been awful." And then she looks at me and she goes, "My music teacher just died of COVID-19. I was like, "Oh."
Oh my God.
I was like, "I am so sorry." She's like, "Yeah, it's really been tough." Took the food and walked away. I was like, "Oh my God, what am I doing? Like, am I the shrink now for these people? It was fucking nuts."
Oh, that's so awkward.
So uncomfortable.
Yeah. I had the same kind of thing with my dentist, actually. I was like, "Oh, how have you been hanging?" And I was her very first patient back.
Yes.
She's like, "I've had 3 friends die." I was like, got her hands in my mouth. "Oh, sorry."
Okay.
I don't know what to say.
Yes, that's very uncomfortable for you. But you've known your dentist and have like a friendly relationship. I had just met this woman for 20 seconds, and she would have like, I felt like
How old was she?
Oh, she was probably in her 20s. She was young. It was just... it was
you did not pick that picture.
It was a strange scene, man. It was uncomfortable. Like, I'm not paid enough money to drop off penne alla vodka from a shit restaurant. Sorry. From a okay restaurant. Take it to another place and then sit there and be your therapist?
No.
I mean, I was like, I was like, oh, hey, let's charge by the hour.
I also just have to...
I feel bad.
Oh, no, I feel terrible about that. But apropos of that, Caldwell is an excellent town for Italian food. What was the choice on that? And for people who don't know, that's where The Sopranos exists. Like, that is the most, like, Italian town there is. Why would you get it from somewhere else?
I should have known something was up when I was driving 23 minutes with penne vodka, that it was going to be turned into, shrink fest with Uber Eats, Mike delivers therapy. So I went to the Montclair Vegan to pick up an order to drive to a customer. I always like going here because the food's typically ready. Dislike going there because the parking can be a mess. Double parked about 100 yards away, put on my flashers, and sprinted a word.
Yes.
It is today. Got into the Montclair Vegan. I knew something was up because I looked to my left and I saw the 2 bags of food. None of them had the name that I was looking for in Marcy. Then I looked and saw the woman who worked at Montclair Vegan on the phone. And she was having this kind of passionate conversation with someone, but had this little puzzled face to her. And the conversation was with another Uber Eats driver that was on the other end. An Uber Eats driver, about 10 minutes prior, went into Montclair Vegan and picked up the order that I had, the food I was supposed to take. So she's already 10 minutes away, now calls in to Montclair Vegan and is like, picked up the wrong order, I'm going to turn around and come back in. So now I'm just lollygagging, sticking around, waiting around. It was interesting, too, because the people at Montclair Vegan were asking me information, on how Uber Eats worked. Definitely fed into my ego. I felt kind of cool about it. But the part about this that was just, these are stories from the road. The woman comes back with the food. She could barely walk. She's limping around. She's trying to get up the steps. And she handed back the food and was like, I'm sorry. I'm making her sound really old. I'm sorry. Here's the food. And I was like, man, I wanted to get mad and be like, you Uber Eats driver, you don't know what you're doing. But it was like a woman who was in her 60s trying to probably earn a couple extra bucks. And she just picked up the wrong order.
Is that the first time that ever happened to you?
Yes.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
First time ever in 1,300 deliveries.
I wonder how they let that happen.
I think this is because I've been talking about this in a bunch. They just put the bags up there and they go, yeah, it's up there. Go ahead and take it. Ugh. And it's as simple as taking somebody's lunch by accident. And on there, there's one that says John, Josh, Susie. You have to pick up Susie's and you take John's and just don't double check your work.
It could happen to anybody.
It was... Some of the orders, it's in small print on a ticket. Sometimes they'll write it out on the bag itself. In Montclair Vegan, they put their food in these hardy bags that you can write on, brown bags. It was obvious. She missed it. She missed it. That's not it was John and it's Josh and it's on a small ticket and I could see how you could make that mistake. This was it was for a Marcy and she was supposed to get for a Hamilton. She just blew it, man.
Oh, that is amazing. That's the first time that's happened. You haven't done it.
That I know of. I could have done it. I could have done it, taken it, dropped it off, and not known I've done it. That's always a possibility.
That is amazing, though.
It is amazing, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to get all mad, but then I just felt so guilty for this woman that was picking up for Marcy.
Did this affect your tip?
No. I thought it would. It did not.
Oh, okay. All right.
I just told the woman that I was going to, if waiting for the food to be done is taking a couple extra minutes. I did not want her, that's a good question. I did not want her to know,
It was in someone else's hands.
Right? Would that bother you if, like, you
Yes.
you did an Uber Eats order for your Thai restaurant and you found out that, Patricia picked it up first and drove it all the way to Clifton?
It's just too much information.
Yeah, just streamline it.
It's like with the whole COVID thing. Once you start kind of thinking about something in depth, you're like, oh my God, I was doing that. That's disgusting. You're like, that was in two people's cars.
Yeah.
For some reason, that just sets me over the edge.
And I would say, as a producer for CBS Sports Radio, sometimes I learn, like, the less information you give somebody, the better, because you just want to be like, here it is, here's the facts. So I didn't want to tell her the whole backstory about this woman that was limping around that took her food and, whatever ended up happening. So
that would have been that was a better decision.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed your vegan burgers. Interview time now on the Mike Delivers podcast. Randy and Jason Sklar, the Sklar Brothers. Really excited for you guys to hear this interview. They are two of the best comedians in the game. They are funny. They've got some great podcasts. And they're both dads, so some dad advice coming my way as well. So here's my interview with Randy and Jason Sklar, the Sklar Brothers. It's the Mike Delivers podcast. Super excited right now to have the Sklar Brothers on. Randy and Jason, you got to check out their podcast. They're incredible. Cheap Seats, Scarborough Country Virus Edition, and Dumb People Town. They just had David Spade on. It is an excellent, excellent listen. And I was excited to get Randy and Jason on. So way back when, I think this is like 6-7 years ago now, I just got to CBS Sports Radio, and I was doing the Jim Rome show on the board for CBS. And the way it works, it's kind of weird. It's like, it's in California, but it bounces back to New York, and then it goes back to California, and I have to pretend like I know what I'm doing, and I have to act all confident. And I remember you guys were filling in for Jim Rome, and you had this awesome, awesome bit where you were saying my name. My last name's Biseglia, but everybody screws it up and calls it Bisceglia. And I have to be honest, like, I was nervous out of my mind that morning running the board. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I hope I hit this. Alvy, are you there? Do I know what I'm doing? And you guys said that, and, like, instantly relaxed me, and I had so much fun when you guys filled in for Jim Rome. That was cool.
Thank you so much. We love doing that show. It's such an interesting show to do. I mean, we got connected with it in that were doing Cheap Seats at the time, like way back in like 2002 to 2004, our show on ESPN Classic, and they were just starting up Jim Rome is Burning right afterwards. And our producer and Michael Mann, who produced that show, the TV show, they were friends, and Michael Mann said, hey, would the Sklars ever want to come on? So we went in and met with him. And then lo and behold, after that, they started booking. It was interesting, just me, Randy, to be a guest on the panel of that show. And I probably did it like 40 times. I did it so much. And while we were doing it, Travis Rogers, who was his radio producer at the time, this is years ago, said, hey, would you guys ever want to guest host Jim's show when he takes vacation? Now, we had heard it, and I had done the TV show, but we hadn't really, like, taken the deep dive into the radio. Right. We just hadn't. So we didn't realize what a humongous...
Here's why we didn't. Because we had never had jobs that required us to commute. And as comedians, we just woke up late. We missed the mornings. Like, we were nighttime people, late night people. This is before we had kids, or right at the beginning of having kids. It was really before that. And so, we just weren't aware of the whole aura of the jungle. And so we just said yes. Like, we come from the school of thought, which I'm sure you are as well, which is why you got into this podcast and started doing what you're doing with Uber and stuff. Uber Eats, like, we just say yes and sort it out later. That's the attitude.
So we went in and did our thing the way we would have done a show, like comedy takes, try and be as funny as we can about stuff in the world of sports. We wrote a ton, and it was great. It was really fun. We're like, oh, we can do this. And we didn't realize.
I remember the first time we did it, we put on, I was terrified, but like you were, I was like, man, 3 hours, Jesus Christ. How are we going to do 3 hours? And then I remember what felt like 4 minutes later, we were taking the headsets off and saying, that's the end of the show. And we were like, wait, we just did that whole show. I feel really good about it. We got lots of engagement. It felt great. The producers said it was fun.
Right.
Like,
and then we started to really realize how many people make that show work. And over the years, we've just done it. We just did it 2 times like a couple weeks ago. And it was amazing. I mean, we just love doing, every time we do it, we love doing the show. And so, you know, anybody who was a part of helping make that show work on the board in New York, Alvin, Adam Hawk, Kyle Brandt back in the day, Jason Stewart back in the day, the wooden and laconic Jason Stewart, you know, Dave Whalen, who books the guests. Like, it's just great people all the way around. Garrett Ritt. So it's just, it's great. So we have a love for everyone. So when you were like, will you guys do this? We were like, of course.
Cool. Well, I do appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about Uber Eats. And I know you guys, since the pandemic, things have changed a little bit. Obviously, people are getting food delivered to them left and right. So from your end, your experiences, what has the delivery game been like? And Randy or Jason, I'll let you guys, just whoever wants to go first based on your experience of talking about this food life, the delivery game. Go ahead. I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Well, as comedians, as stand-ups, we're always looking at how is the world, and especially with our podcast, Sklar Brothers Country, the Virus Edition, which is a daily podcast. We've never done a daily before, ever. But we typically try and look at how is the world handling the pandemic? How are businesses, how are people handling? Well, obviously people are getting food delivered a lot more because they're not going out.
Right.
It's a great way to keep restaurants alive. You know, we highly recommend it. You know, order the food from the restaurants you love because this is a way to keep them going. But then you see businesses that are pivoting a little bit from what they normally do into now delivering food. Like there's a strip club up in Portland, Lucky Devil Strip Club, that started delivering food,
and using their strippers as the delivery girls,
like repurposing the strippers.
Right.
Like it's like the TV show Westworld. It's like they reprogram them from one area and then put them into a new storyline. And they so you get a topless woman delivering you food, which you've delivered food before, Jay. There's that moment.
Well, there's always the moment where you get the food and then you open up the bag and you realize that they've put the wrong salsa in your bag, or you wanted the green salsa, they gave it. So you got to like flag the person down and be like, hey, sorry, listen, we ordered the green salsa. This is the red salsa.
And she's like, it's not in there. You're like, no, it's not the one. It said that on my thing. And now you're having a very logistical discussion with a stripper on your front lawn with just a woman with her shirt off. Like That's essentially it. Like she's not topless.
She's like, fine, I'll call my manager. And then while she's calling her manager, you're just like looking at her car and you're like, I don't want to see a stripper's car. I don't want to see like one headlight out. I don't want to see a car seat.
Oh, there's a kid in there. No.
I don't want to see a kid in the car seat while her mom's shirt's off. Okay, it's a nightmare. And of course, our joke was that no matter what you order from the strip club, you're going to get crabs. That's just
fair.
A fact.
So it is, it is cool. The pivot is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I'm not a stripper, so I'm not taking my shirt off when I'm doing these deliveries. But I did have a delivery last week from a Subway, sandwich shop, and the order called for 2 Italian hoagies and then 2 types of cookies, and it was the macadamia chip cookie, white chip cookie, and in there were chocolate chips. I did do this. Looked in the bag, wrong type of cookies. Went back. They gave me crap. They were like, what are you doing? We got the order right. I was like, no. Cookies. So they took the cookies, swapped them out, put them in the bag, and handed to them. So I try my best to do everything the right way and be the best delivery driver I can.
I mean, so Subway is also a really crazy place for me because you're on the cusp of having a kid. This is fascinating. Okay, you like Jay. His wife's water is going to break any minute. Okay,
it could happen mid podcast.
It could happen right now. And then you are driving to the hospital, but you're like, I got to get these macadamia nut cookies to these other people, and you got to make a stop along the way, and you drop off.
Yes, I know, honey. You're going to make a delivery in 18 hours. I got to make 4 deliveries right now.
Right,
that's right. So I took my kids to Subway. Like, that's our place we go when we usually drive up and go visit friends up in Tahoe. And we know the route and how to go. We get to like the 14 freeway, right when it turns in the Mojave Desert. There's a Subway right by the gas station where we usually gas up. And the first time my kids ordered from Subway, that was like, I was like, who are you? I don't even know you. Are you going to kill me in my sleep? Like, I didn't even understand their order. Like, my youngest daughter was like, I'll have a tuna with spinach.
Tuna
Subway. Tuna with spinach. It's like 9 a.m. too, with tuna with spinach and lettuce and Italian dressing. I'm like, who are you? First of all, who orders that? Second of all, who are you? How are you? I've never seen you eat this combination of food ever in my life, and this is your go-to Subway order? How do you have a go-to Subway order? Is there another family you're living with? I just don't understand. So that was really funny. I just love that that's their thing. They're like, we're going to Subway. They're so excited.
Will you guys, if you get deliveries, Jason, I'll start with you. If you get food delivered to you, what's your etiquette on reheating the food? Will you eat it straight out of the bag? Or, I want it like it's at the restaurant. This has to go in the microwave or oven, depending on what the exact food is.
So that's so funny because what's happening right now, by the way, is that Randy and I started it and then Randy has jumped in. We're both on Jenny Craig. And you haven't seen us because you've been listening to us, but like I've lost almost 20 pounds in the pandemic. And Randy, thank you. And Randy's lost like 10. Nice. And he had less to go. We're about the same now, but like, I was really getting overweight. And so the problem is like the other night, my son was like, I want wings. And I was like, it's 9 o'clock. It's like 8:40. He's like, just look and see if you can get wings. And then, he's an 11-year-old boy, he's growing. And I'm like, all right, I don't want to deny him. It's like a horrible pandemic. So I don't want to deny him the wing. I'll see if I can do it. I'll order it. They'll deliver the food. I don't have to leave my house. Right. So I found a wing place that would do it in like 30 minutes. And they brought the wings. And they always complain that food's too hot. They have to like wait, my kids, until the food cools down. So with the way the food came, 35 minutes, it was like perfect. It was not too hot, not too cold. And so, but me sitting there at the table watching him eat these wings and like wanting to eat like 5 or 6 or 7 of them, because he ordered 12 and he ate like 7. And I'm like, I normally would eat the rest of these.
Of course.
And I realized, I'm like, at that point, I don't care if it's hot or cold or whatever. I see the food that comes in delivery that my kids are getting most of the time, and I'm just like, I want all of it. I don't care if it's hot or cold. It all looks way better than the food I'm eating. I mean, Randy and I decided to go on Jenny Craig during a pandemic is like taking an oath of celibacy as you're entering the Olympic Village as an athlete. It's like
as a pole vaulter, you're like, I've got the pole. I just don't know. I won't be able to.
Can't vault into anyone anymore. This is a nightmare. Why am I self-inflicting this on myself? Because the pandemic with the delivery of food it's in a way like this is where we can go get whatever we want. Now, I will say this. We have done food delivery of sushi. And that has been, and my joke, of course, is like, get out here, kids. The food's getting cold. That's my sushi joke.
It's a great joke. It's a dad joke. We typically order, we have our go-to places. There's a fantastic Indian place, Agra Cafe, which is nearby us, that it usually comes pretty hot. It's like, but if it's, let's say the rice isn't as hot as we want it to, we definitely like put it in the bowl, then put it in the microwave just to give it that heat up so that it is hotter. So we're not afraid to do that. It just depends like when it comes versus when. If it gets there, we're like, let's eat it right now.
Yeah, I'm notorious for always reheating anything. And like my wife and I, we don't typically fight a lot, but this has like become a big fight. I don't care what the food is. I'm like, we have to reheat it. We got lobster rolls one night and I reheated it in the microwave. She's like, you just ruined dinner. So I have this problem. Like, it's like, we're now eating rubber rolls. Like we spent $40 on this. Yeah, I have this issue. I need to get more of your style in understanding how to not have to reheat everything. It's a problem that I have that I'm trying to like legit work on. Just knowing I got to eat the food.
So you got to back time it to where you're like super hungry when it comes. So the second it comes, the plates are out. You got to get everything ready. You got to have the plates out. You got to have all the drinks out.
Right.
You got to have the condiments out. Everything that you want to add to it should be ready so that as soon as it comes in the door, boom, it's on the plate and you're eating.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
And this is, I want to see if we're using poor etiquette as the deliveries, I guess, the people receiving this.
Yeah.
We normally, when the person rings the doorbell, we just from inside, and this is a COVID thing, I think, we just say, go ahead and leave it outside. Thank you so much. And then we wait until they leave and then we go get it from outside. That way we're not getting too close to them. They're not getting too close to us. Still leave a good tip. It doesn't they don't have to earn the tip by being nice. I just want to, is that seen as rude?
No, that is awesome move. That's A plus job. What I've noticed, which is interesting, is like on Uber Eats, you can leave notes for people. Like, hey, please leave the food at the door or outside the door. Hey, leave it outside the door and just ring the doorbell, whatever it might be.
That's great.
So that's a great move. What I found, though, is the problem is people are leaving notes and then they don't realize that those notes stay there forever. They don't just disappear. So somebody will leave a note like, I'll go pick up some place from a sushi restaurant and they'll write on the bottom, hey, if you don't mind, can you get me some extra ketchup and please deliver that? And it's like, this is, and I've learned through time that's from an old delivery note.
Yeah.
But it is something, if you can leave notes for the drivers if you want to let them know, hey, this is something I want to do. So that's a veteran move right there. Yeah,
that's a good move. That's a good move.
So then, what is your tipping etiquette for the driver? Do you respond based on how their performance was, how fast the food got to your house? Are they nice at the door, or is it just like, hey, here you go?
I just give.
More.
I
go up like 5 to 10% than what I normally get, because they're like warriors in the streets. Like right now, like that's just it. I'm like, you're risking your life by roaming around and interacting with people and doing that stuff. Then as a result, I'm going to tip you more. It doesn't matter how you are, unless they throw the door or just do some horrible thing, then I'm not going to tip.
Right. It's just that's good to know, because it's funny. Like now with Uber Eats drivers, you're seeing what the tip is before you even do the meal. So if for example, if you got a pickup from a place you liked and you didn't tip, I could just be like, well, I don't want to go to that driver, decline. So putting the tip beforehand actually, I think, helps get your food faster, at least on the Uber Eats.
Oh yeah, that's a great. I didn't know that. That's a pro tip.
Yeah, no, that's what it's been kind of fascinating doing this podcast and interacting with people is it helps me learn what people want when they order. And then I think for the customer too, like the tricks from the driver so that they can get their food a little bit faster.
That's right.
That's there as well, which is kind of cool. All right. How about no kids? Cause I'm about to be a parent. How about no kids for a night? You're ordering Uber Eats with your wife. Is there a go-to dinner? Don't have to worry about what the kids want to eat. And Randy, I see you're nodding your head. So what is that go-to takeout delivery order?
So my kids are pretty good as far as, we're just like, this is what we're getting. You know what I mean? And they'll just have to find something on there. But there's a sushi place. I mean, we have a few sushi places that we really love, but there's one right nearby us that is just, it's great because it has our neighborhood place. LA just has so many good sushi places, but that's always feels like, all right, let's treat ourselves. It's really nice. It's close, super close. So it's not coming from far away. Not that it matters. It's sushi, but that's the one we would get. It's called What the Fish, which I think is pretty great. What the Fish is good.
That's a good one. I love that place. That place is really good. I would say, there's a place called Sugarfish, which is a sushi joint that has just the freshest in LA. There's a bunch of them now. It was based off of a place that was in the valley not far from us. That's a place we go to. We love. There's a place called John and Vinny's, which is great Italian food and thin pizza. There's another place called Roberta's. There's one in Brooklyn and there's one here. Amazing pizza. Just food that's good. Even you got to kind of say is the food going to be good as delivered, or is it like something you have to have in the restaurant? and that their food just travels well. It's good. John and Vinny's makes all these different kinds of pastas that are just good when they get to your house. I would never order a steak.
No.
And have that delivered.
No, that's got to come out.
Pasta, pizza, sushi, all those things.
And Indian is really good.
And Indian, yes, Indian. And there's and Thai, like those are foods that like when they come.
Oh yeah, there is a Chinese food restaurant called The Palace right over by me that I love. That's another one but that's more of like the family loves it. You know what I mean?
The family, we have Green Apple down near us. That's a Chinese place that we just like rock with like so many dumplings and like that kind of stuff is just, the dumplings are great when they come. If they're piping hot, they're awesome. Even if they're like lukewarm, they're still really good. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like you kind of have to have food. Like for me, pizza's awesome when it's piping hot. It's also good when it's like warm. Like it doesn't have to be like, especially thin crust pizza where, that's really thin, where the dough of the pizza is very doughy, right. And you're like, okay, this is good, hot, boiling hot, super, super hot, and also warmish, so I can have it anyway. So,
no, that's perfect. Well, you've hit on all the foods I love. As a Jewish Italian kid that I am, that's like a mix of that. I'm like, you've like those are my meals, like Chinese, sushi, Indian. I'm like, I don't need anything else. Like, hit me on top of that. So. My wife, as we mentioned before, we're recording this. It's Wednesday morning. Her due date is tomorrow on Thursday. Wow. But the way things work, who knows? It could be in 10 seconds. It could be in 4 days, whatever it might be.
Right.
Any advice for a first-time parent? I'm 37. This is my first endeavor in this. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I have no idea what I'm about to expect. Any words of wisdom from you guys?
So we are both. So you're doing it around the same ages as Jay. So we're both 48 and Jay's son is 11. That's his oldest, and his daughter is 6. So you're on his track. My kids are a little older. I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old. The thing is, you're going to make mistakes. You and your wife have to tell each other, we are going to make a ton of mistakes. And as long as you're there for your kid, and as long as you love your kid, and as long as you guys both love your kid, you will and are there. Being there for the kid is the most important thing. As long as you're there for the kid, the mistakes don't matter.
Right.
And even when you make a mistake and you screw up, even now that our kids are old enough, apologizing for that mistake is another teachable moment. They're all teachable, where you're like, hey, I shouldn't have done that. What you're showing your kid is that it's okay to apologize, which is, by the way, something people don't do in this day and age. Like, people don't concede elections when they lose. People don't apologize for things when they've made nobody's ever made a mistake. Right. If somebody, like, no one, you can't accept that people have made a mistake. It's like somebody runs over your foot with a Jazzy at Walmart, and it's like, that woman tried to, no, she didn't. She just, it was a mistake. It's a mistake, and you can allow. So it's your job to teach kids to like own mistakes and that other stuff, and that's a very powerful thing too. So you're gonna screw up a ton. Cut yourself slack. Obviously, with both you and your wife have to be on the same team with that, and just be like, it's all right. We'll get it next time, and don't worry about it. And it's okay. And as long as you give yourself a wide berth with that stuff, you'll be fine.
Cool.
That's good advice. I would say, take all your expectations about who your kid's going to be and throw them out the window. It starts with the birth itself. Like, you may walk in and be like, we're going to have natural childbirth, and it's going to happen in 7 hours. And your kid will tell, like, it starts right there. Your kid will tell you what it's going to be. You may have all the intentions of this being this way. I don't know if you know the gender of your child yet, boy or girl. Boy. So that's so exciting and awesome. And you may say to yourself, hey, I love sports, and I did it this way when I was a kid, and I want this kid to be into that stuff. He might not be into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's more like, that's the sort of internal struggle that you can control, is how much you're putting your expectations on your kid about who you want them to be. Listen to them, figure out what they want you to be. You can certainly suggest things, but just be like, who is this kid and what are they about? And how much are they like, what's the best way? Like your parents may have been like hardcore with you and like super disciplinarian, but that might not work with this person.
Right.
It might be like, okay, this is the kind of kid who like, you know, we just have to be sweet with all the time. That's what he responds to the most. Or this is the kind of kid who like, hey, we have to set limits on this person. And it's hard. I remember I tweeted one time, like back when my son was little, I tweeted that like setting a limit with your kid and sticking to it is like forcing an offensive player into like a shot clock violation. You got to be like active and moving your feet and working as hard as you can. And then you get to the buzzer and you're like, we did it. The ball comes to us. It's our possession. And then Shane Battier retweeted it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, because that guy knows how to force you into a shot clock.
He knows how to force into shot clock violations. And he's raised like
dad.
And he's a dad. So that's it. It is by far the greatest, best thing you will ever do in your entire life. It is so awesome. It is unbelievable. I thought before I had kids, I'm not going to like it until they're 5 years old. That is BS. I loved it from the beginning. It just changes and it gets different in different ways. Every stage is hard and every stage is, you know, at times a nightmare, but also the greatest thing you'll ever do. Not even close.
Well, I love the advice. I appreciate your time. That's, you know, in my head, I'm just thinking like I'm opening up my headphones. Like, I think I heard my wife. Is it time to like, I got my advice. Is it time to bolt? Is it time to be a dad? Three questions I end all my podcasts with, rapid fire. You can answer them right away. Jason, I'll let you start it off, then to Randy. Cake or pie? What do you prefer?
I'm cake all the way. There's just so many different types of cakes that I love. And
it's a complicated question because my favorite dessert is a thing called banoffee pie that my wife's mom used to make. May she rest in peace. But it is like a banana around the outside. The whole thing is toffee, and there is a espresso cream around the outside. So it is a pie. It is my favorite dessert of all time. So it's hard for me I'm a big cake person too, but you can't sleep on banoffee pie.
Nope.
Waffle or pancake?
That's a good one. Jay?
Jeez. I'm gonna say waffle because number one, I'm a big waffle cone ice cream eater, and like
no one says give me the pancake cone.
Yeah, you go for that waffle, Belgian waffle. That's mine.
Yeah, I'm a huge waffle fan too. One time, Jay and I had waffles on the street in Belgium, and there were it was the street waffle was probably the best thing we've ever had.
And then the final question: a year from now, hypothetical world. Let's say you're getting married, you're sending out your wedding invitations. Will you invite me to your wedding?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because I really do like you, but I also know that like in my world, I have so many freaking people.
Just be honest. It's fine.
I'm going to say that. So in my heart of hearts, I'm going to say no, but only because I don't want you to have to get a present and or make a destination wedding trip to somewhere where you don't know anyone. I mean, I'm going to leave it open though, that like if we continue to like develop a friendship over time, that it could happen, that we could. It would be my second wedding, and second weddings are like tiny.
Yeah. I'm going to say right now, you asked me right now in this moment.
Right now.
It's not happening. But that doesn't mean I don't like you, and I don't think you're a great dude.
Randy, Jason Sklar, thank you so much for jumping on the Mike Delivers podcast. I appreciate it.
Here's what I will let you do. I'll let you deliver the food to the wedding.
I'll let you deliver.
Kind of there.
I'm there.
I'll let you deliver the banoffee pie. We're going to have a wedding pie.
Could you imagine, though, if I was delivering some Subway sandwiches and I was like, sorry, honey, can't go to the delivery room quite yet. We got to drop off this 6-inch meatball and this 6-inch tuna and this foot-long turkey club. Got to make sure we do that. That would be some crazy shit. Thank you, Randy and Jason, the Sklar Brothers, for coming on the Mike Delivers podcast. I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And I meant every word of it in the beginning with that nervousness with the Jim Rome show. Like, I was scared out of my mind to run that audio board and then to know that I was interacting with the Sklar Brothers, I got pretty nervous. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was legit, like, a little shaken. So when they started making those jokes and making fun of my last name and having fun with it, it certainly relaxed me and I loved it. So thank you guys again for hopping on the podcast. Okay, the stinkiest food that I had in my car this week, it's a repeat from last week. Not the same meal, but the same restaurant. That would be the Tops Diner in Newark. Last week, it was the New Orleans chicken pasta. This week, it's the chicken Alfredo pasta. So these diner pastas are just stinking up my car. And the best way that I would describe this, if you had to have a smell that it reminded me of, that it can relate to everybody that's listening to this podcast, it reminded me and it smelled like over-the-top buttered popcorn at the movie theater. That's what it smelled like. Just nasty buttered popcorn. Now, I like buttered popcorn, but when you have a chicken Alfredo in your car and that's the smell that comes to you, not great. Not great at all. That is another stinky meal that has been placed in my wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4. Episode 108 of Mike Delivers drops on Thursday. Wing month begins, and my wife and I try the lemon pepper wings from Pizza Hut. And that was a suggestion from our guy, Eddie Gonzalez. Thank you for that suggestion. If you have suggestions for me, don't hesitate. You can let me know. Feel free to do that. You can email me, MikeDeliversPod@gmail.com, or just DM me, MikeDeliversPod, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't forget as well, you can find more great content of the Mike Delivers brand. Go to my Patreon page. This is always expanding, and it's been awesome. I got to say, my wife and I do this a couple times a week. We love it. You get videos of our podcast, a bonus episode, blind food taste test, Yum or Yuck, end of the month food challenge. It's really... it's like a whole new world out there with there's a lot of shit on the Patreon page. There's already more than 30 episodes on there. So if you're craving, I like that. If you're craving more Mike Delivers, head on over to Mike Delivers on Patreon, patreon.com, or do the Patreon app. Easy to find it there. It's only $4 a month, and it's greatly appreciated, helping to give back to this podcast. Shout out also to the O'Brien Creative Group. They made my awesome looking logo. Love you guys. O'BrienCreativeGroup.com for more information that's in my show notes. And besides the great logo, they do website design, brand identity. These guys are the best. So I really appreciate all the work that has been done at the O'Brien Creative Group. All right, episode 108 drops on Thursday. Wing month begins with the lemon pepper wings from Pizza Hut. And I want to say another place, but it's confusing. Wings from Pizza Hut. There's a whole little backstory with that too. Thank you to the Sklar Brothers, Randy and Jason, for coming on the Mike Delivers podcast. Thank you to my wife, Jess, for joining me to share stories from the road. That was a lot of fun. Of course, thank you to you guys for downloading it, and thank you to The Beautiful Noise. That's the music you hear. They are the soundtrack to this podcast, and it would not be the same without them. We will see you next time. We'll see you Thursday, or whenever the bleep you listen to this, on episode 108. Boys will be boys. Bad boy, bad boy. Boys will be boys. Bad boy, bad boy. Bad, 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 bad boy. You make me feel so good. You bad, 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 bad boy. You make me feel so good. Way you hold me tight, get me so excited. Bad boy, bad boy,